Yes, it's working today. Y'all see her? You're listening to VK Career Conversations with Val. The reason I decided to do this is that we all come from a place of insecurity or just not knowing where we want to go with our career. We'll be consistent. We will feed your soul. We want you to ask questions, gaining information so that you can move forward in your career. Well, hello to VK Career Conversations and to the best two co-hosts out there. Good morning, Dr. Pinkston and Dave Smith. How are y'all doing this morning?
Fantastic.
Love it. Great. Yes, yes.
Are y'all ready for this conversation?
Of course.
Yes, ready.
Y'all know what we're getting ready to talk about?
Nope. Had no idea today.
It's never too late. Never too late.
Yes.
You know, I keep telling myself, even this morning, I was like, it's never too late to get happy about something. It's never too late to spoil yourself. It's never too late to stop going left and start going right. It's never too late.
That's right.
So today we're going to talk about it's never too late.
Yay.
Before we get going, if you guys can tell them a little bit about yourself, just a little brief something about yourself. And I'll start with you today, Dave.
Okay, so I am a mompreneur. I am a sales and marketing expert. I am all of the things. I run a productivity consulting business where I help simplify the lives of busy professionals and entrepreneurs, especially when it comes to their digital life.
Okay. All righty. Well, Dave, that's not all that podcast that you have. Oh my God.
I am an author, podcaster, all the things.
There you go. And it's awesome. And I really enjoyed. Thanks for having me on there. It was awesome. It was an awesome experience. And of course, last but not least, Dr. Pinkston. Can you tell the people a little bit about you?
I can. I love Dave when she comes up with mompreneur. I love that. I love that. Yes. She always does that. Yes, I am Dr. Marianne Pinkston. I'm an integrative and family practitioner out of San Antonio, Texas, and podcaster and things like that too. Love what I do. drpbetterlife.com is where you can find me and come take a look at all the medical stuff we talk about. But I love being on this. This is so much fun. You ladies are awesome, and we really accomplished some great stuff on here. This is.
I have to agree, but have you guys checked us out? We are so in sync. I think we all are wearing black today. What?
I know, aren't we? We didn't.
Look at that. We didn't talk about that. This is just the energy that's getting ready to go. That's why it's never too late. We just got up this morning, looked in the mirror, and said, "You know what? I feel like wearing black." And we're not going to a funeral, honey, because we're getting ready. It's life all over here. Right. We look classy, very classy. Well, let's just get started on this conversation. Oh, did I ask Abigail how she's feeling over there?
Y'all can't see me, but my name is Abigail. I work for Miss Carter. I do anything she asks me to do. But I mostly deal with the media stuff. I don't do the medical stuff. I would mess that up. So I do the media stuff.
Well, she is the baddest producer anyone can have out there. She keeps me and our platforms everything perfect. So thank you, Abigail. Good morning.
You're welcome. Thank you.
All right. Well, let's get started. Again, the title of the show today is It's Never Too Late. Dave, since when you heard that title, what did you think of? What did you think of when you heard we're going to talk about It's Never Too Late?
I felt like if I was someone who heard that, I would just feel free to explore that, because I think we hold ourselves back. We say, it's too late. You'll say like, I will do this when, and then when comes, you look back and you regret that you didn't do it then. And so when you say it's never too late, it kind of gives you permission to say, you know what, I'm gonna try. Mm-hmm. And I hope it's freeing to a lot of people, especially my more experienced women and men who are further along in their careers and they're older and they feel like that's a young person's game, or it's too late for me to do this or do that. I feel like it's freeing to hear that, to hear it's never too late.
I love exactly what you're saying there. And I'm looking at Dr. Pinkston because, that's why I love having Day on here, because she kind of helps us older people, matured people. Right. She keeps us fresh. Yeah. I have to say for myself, and then I'm going to say, I think it's never too late. I really believe when we were sitting up, coming up with the title, Abigail and I were talking, and the team, when we came up with "It's Never Too Late," I really thought about myself. Uh, if I wouldn't have moved forward and leaving corporate America and doing this thing that God had already crafted out for me, because I would have felt like, oh, I have too many kids, or I'm married, or I'm in my 40s. I can't do this. No, you can't. It's never too late. So for me, I was excited about this conversation. Dr. Pinkston, what about you?
Yeah, same. I guess may take a little different turn on it, because I think as you do get older, you start to live in some painful regrets of things, and that regret is a very painful thing. You look backwards and you think I shoulda, coulda, woulda, and then I think people get lost in that, and that is so sad. I have a very good friend of mine in his 70s now, who lost a wife and had lots of different things happen, and is looking ahead and saying, you know what, I could have 20 years left. I could still have a long time left. I've got lots of things I want to accomplish. It's not just bucket list items either. It's really things that I just never did, and I'm going to do it now. And that freedom and everything. There are some people who can turn and look at it and just think, well, I didn't, and I feel regret. And so, no, you've got to take a different energy stance on that. You really do. And that comes from within. That is, society tells us many times that it's, too late, you're too old, you're too this, you're too that. But it is really an energy stance. You just have to.
And it's also not that you're too old, because I think sometimes even the younger generation may say, you know what, I missed that. Maybe maybe next time. And I think you have to get to a place, like you said, it's within, it's the energy. What are you feeling about yourself? What are some of the things that you want to do? Right. And I want to take it from a career perspective, just kind of jump in on that a little bit. Let's talk about making that switch or making that turn. I love what I do. I'll use an example. I love getting up, working in healthcare. I love figuring out a problem. But now I find myself truly enjoying, if I can be very honest with you, I enjoy this. Having this has been so therapeutic for me. It's helped me to grow.
Yeah.
So, is this something I ever had in my mind or in the back of my head to do? No. But I don't think it's too late. I don't think being 59 years young, it's too late to jump off in here and have fun and take it where it's going to take you.
Absolutely.
Agreed. And as far as career, I think I've had friends, because you talked about even the younger, the 20s and 30s and 40-year-olds feel this way, who they at 18 said, I'm going to major in this major, get this degree. And they get that degree, and they spent the time or their parents' money, their money going through school. And now they don't want to do that. They don't want to be a pharmacist or a lawyer. They want to be something else.
Yes.
And they even feel like, oh, it's too late. I gotta go for it, because I've invested this time. I've invested this money. And so even the younger generation feels that way. I see it all the time. And like Dr. Pinkston said, the time is going to go by, no matter if you start over and go do what you really want to do, or if you stick it out and do something that's going to make you miserable. Those 10 to 20 years are going to go by anyway. So you might as well just do something you want to do.
Exactly.
I call it reshift. Life is constantly evolving. Yeah. And so you can't just get stuck. Because I used to think that I wanted to be a therapist. My husband always called me, and he still says, well, my dream is to be a therapist, a counselor. And, but what I really enjoy doing is fixing problems and operation. And I find myself all of this coming back full circle, because I do believe God is still using my heart in a way to do the things that I had that was kind of put in me early on. I may not be a licensed therapist or a counselor, but what I am doing is I'm putting people together to have a conversation.
Yes.
And I'm bringing people with those licenses and those career paths to help people through whatever they're going through. So I do believe you just have to get going.
Right. A facilitator.
And it's never too late. Yeah. Yeah.
So absolutely.
So Dr. Pinkston, when you decided to shift your business, or when it kind of came to you that you needed to do something different, were you struggling with, maybe it's too late, or maybe I should just kind of ride this thing out until I can retire? Or what did you feel?
I think the thing that has motivated me, to make all these changes has been just sheer fatigue. And it is, I've never been one to let anything stop me, really, whether it's age or illness or, whatever circumstances have arrived in my path. I've always been able to kind of overcome and shift. And so I do look at things very differently now because of my age and experience and background. And, most of the time, honestly, when I think about shifting in my career, I have a little bit of guilt. And I'm worried about the patients that I might be leaving behind, or, whether if I were to think of moving, am I leaving my kids? Am I leaving something? It's always in taking care of other people and what other people's needs are. That is something that I've had to work very hard.
That's it right there. Right. Leaving somebody else and taking care of someone else and denying yourself, because we put all of that into play when we're making a decision that's best for us. Right. And I think that, and I'm not saying that men don't do it, but I don't think that they do it quite as much as we do it as women. And then we use that, we allow that to hold us back on really moving forward.
Absolutely.
Because we put a lot of play into that. Day, you want to jump in on that a little bit?
Yeah, I think that the guilt that comes with not doing is what drives us, right? It's kind of like we're supposed to do it, society roles. And I mean, we are more nurturing. So it is something that for the most part, we kind of become like the default person to do it. And yeah.
But why is that? But why are we the default? Why? I think right there, we really need to, because someone's going to hear this and they're struggling with that piece right there. Why are we the default person? Or why do we feel the need? No one said, right? Nobody can do it better than us. That's in our heads. That's what we think.
In our head.
But why do we feel that we are the default? Why do we have to do it? And why are we unwilling to allow our partners or someone else to do it?
Yeah. I feel like it could, for me anyways, I saw my mom do it and she was the only one there. So that is what I saw and that is what I took on. But then I happened to marry someone who is very involved and engaged. So it's like helping, I'm working on not being the default and saying, you know what, he can comb her hair, he can pick them up, he can take off and take them to the doctor instead of me, and so I'm learning that. But it's a challenge, honestly, trying to break that pattern.
I think it's so what I heard you say, I heard two things, and then we have a doctor over here that can break us down real, she can tell us the psychological part of that. I heard two things. I heard that one, you saw your mother doing it all the time. So that was a behavior that you learned, that she did it, so I can do it, right? Same thing over here. And then the other part is, did you feel like if you didn't do it, then you weren't measuring up as a mother? Because that's, I mean, I kind of felt like for myself, because I saw my mom do all that she did, even under some of the most difficult situations. And so what I ended up doing, I used that as a way to measure how I'm supposed to be as a wife, how I'm supposed to be as a woman, and how I'm supposed to be as a mother, when in fact, and a career person, when in fact, none of that was really needed. You know what I'm saying? Or even correct. It was correct in that time, and it was correct for her, but that really wasn't what I need. Does that make sense? Am I saying that right? Or Dr. Pinkston, help me out.
This is something that spans cultures and an economic divide. It spans everything. And this is what you look at any culture, any any group of women, and you will see this. I call it the Superwoman Syndrome. I was actually in the middle of writing a book called Superwoman Syndrome to try to investigate this a little bit, because I see in my practice woman after woman, and it's any age, where women are exhausted and not taking care of themselves, and because they are taking care of others. Now, what my theory was, and the reason I felt that it was so important, was not just because of our us as a society, but I see the burden on healthcare of heart disease, depression, and dementia, and all of these factors in our healthcare system, where women are so overweight and exhausted, and the cost to the healthcare system of women not taking care of themselves first and taking care of everybody else. So I was kind of taking that perspective on it. This is something that has been passed down from generation to generation. It's almost an expectation. Now, whether we put that on ourselves, or whether
it's been placed
or
on
it's in place, I think it's both. And women do, as in the past, I guess, when you were speaking of your mom, or when I look at my mom, that was something that we were just culturally in the household, taking charge of everything, the kids, the home and everything. But now we have a dual role as breadwinners. So we have the breadwinner fact on top of the social fact of being the caretaker and the nurturer in the home, and we've got to play both of those roles. So it's actually even worse than it was before. We are actually more exhausted and more sick. So it is something that really needs to be investigated. And when I sit with my patients and talk to women about it, I'm like, you have got to start delegating, placing yourself first, letting go, letting other people do things, let them figure it out, because in the end, you may be enabling. So you may be enabling your kids, your husband, or other people around you to depend on you and not be able to take care of themselves. What if something happens to you?
Yeah.
Then they're going to have to figure it out, and they will. They will. So allow them to learn that while you're still around and can help guide. But give yourself a break. It's really very, very, very dangerous for us.
I think the biggest problem for us is that we, again, have that syndrome of having to be perfect, have it all together. We can do this. If we don't do it, nobody else can do it.
Absolutely.
It's kind of like, for me right now, if I'm sitting here thinking about, okay, what's happening with my business, when in fact I need to be focusing on this other part of my business, or what's happening in this client. We take so much, we have people in place to do the job, but we take so much. I don't know. I don't even know if it's the right word to say. We tend to want to do it all so that we can feel like we are valued. Is that kind of
maybe
you place your value in that? You place your value in that for sure.
Yeah. And I'm actually
being needed. Yeah.
Yes, I'm actually really making a conscious decision to take a different approach, and my approach is really taking more time for me, enjoying the moments. When I need to be at work, I'm at work. And when I need to be off, I'm off. And even when I'm at work, I'm enjoying it. And I think if we do that versus looking at, and I almost want to give it a different name instead of work. Something about work is a mental, I don't know, it's almost like a drag. So I don't know. Maybe you always come up with great words. What? Come on, Day. Let's give it something else, because again, there are people out there working and doing their job, and they're like, I got to get up and go to work. Just kind of, it's a mental thing.
I know your heart, Val. So I think if you transition to, I need to go serve my clients, that's what you're going to do.
Yes.
I'm gonna go serve my clients because you're serving instead of work, because that's the action. That's what you're doing.
Right.
Say that, and I think I may say that too. I may still.
That's exactly it. I'm going to serve. It's like
help somebody through their day. Help somebody.
Yes, that's it. Come on now.
Yes.
Come on now. So for that career person that is sitting on their job today, that may be feeling like, oh my God, I don't feel like working. Well, let's just change the mindset and say, we're not working, we're serving someone or something greater than myself.
Absolutely.
And when we choose to change how we speak, what we're speaking over, how we see things, I think that'll make things a lot better.
It's all perspective. It really is all perspective. It's how you get up and look at a situation is. And it's so hard to do. It really is so hard to do, especially when you are going through something very, very difficult. To see the world kind of falling on you. It's really very, very important that you take just a different glance at it, apply a different term, just like that. It changes the focus completely.
I had a young lady last evening or yesterday. She said that she felt like she was at a breaking point in her career. She felt like she was not being valued on her job and at the company. She felt like she just, when she had to speak to her bosses, she felt like they just didn't hear her. And she just didn't know what to do because she felt like, hey, but I need my job. Right. And she said, I don't know what to do. And so I said to her, I said, well, let me ask a question. What about your peace? Do you need your peace? What happens if after all of the things you're saying that you felt like they were not valuing you, you felt like they belittled you, what happens the day they come in and tell you we no longer need you? And you've allowed all of that to suck every piece of good and joy out of you. What are you going to do then? She said, I probably I have no choice. I have to go find another job. I said, well, you have that choice right now.
Thank you.
Why don't you start looking? Why don't you start valuing yourself and start speaking up for yourself and advocating for yourself in a respectful way? Maybe they'll start treating you differently. What advice would you give to someone that reached out and said those same things to you? We're in that same place.
So that actually happens quite a bit when I see patients, and they're many times people are feeling anxious or depressed, and they come and it's work centered. And when you dig a little bit different, then dig a little bit deeper, then you find out it's actually more value centered. So that they don't feel like they are being valued, or that they're not getting the approval that they need or the support that they need, or it's all about their value, which then leads, like you said, into their peace. And I tell them always protect your peace. It's very important for you to feel valued, but it has to start with you value yourself.
Yes.
And then, so you've got lots of choices. If you feel like, if you feel fear to get out of a situation, that is very valid, but you have to look at the value of yourself and your worth and your time and your efforts and see where that is best served. It's always best served in you. And what you're doing for yourself. So if you're scared to take a leap and get out, and this is where all the regrets, coming back to our topic, it's about looking forward, not looking back. And just making sure that you are valuing yourself and your time, because it is valuable. So, some people need to face the situation, fix the situation that they're in. If they feel like they can't fix the situation they're in, they may need to look for and take a leap elsewhere. But be brave and realize that you do deserve better for yourself, and whatever that means, just add it to your day and do it.
I do believe you have to look within, because even if you leave and you haven't looked within, you're still taking that same place to the next place. And so people treat you how you treat yourself.
Absolutely.
So if you walk in feeling and walking and acting as the victim, or someone needing to be validated, guess what?
No matter where you go,
they may not do it.
They may not
be okay with that.
You got to be okay. And it starts with you. I know my value. You have to know your value.
Absolutely.
So, Day, I see you want to come in and take a little bit of this. Go ahead, Day.
Yeah. So it's, I love that Dr. Pinkston closed it out with being bold and believing in yourself, because I think that where this person is, she has been beaten down on her belief system. She was looking for someone else to validate her, and that made her feel like she wasn't valued. And so she let that be the definition of that for her and not believe in herself. I think she has to trust and believe that she can do something different and it's going to be okay and she will succeed. And it's like you talking about, it's never too late. Even if you've been in that situation for 10, 15 years and you want something different, you have to believe that you can do it and just go for it.
Yes.
I mean,
and sometimes
you have no, I mean, what's the harm in trying, so.
And sometimes you just have to take the a leap of faith, the jumping into the blind and the unknown, because that in itself, I believe, is going to be the most rewarding. I'm not saying go just do something crazy. Don't quit. I'm just saying, put a little money, do something. I'm not saying that, but I am saying there are times when you actually have to jump out there. Yeah. There are times you're going to have to say, I'm sick and tired of being sick and tired. Yeah. I need something different. And you have to just go for it. Believe in yourself. Believe in yourself.
My mother-in-law, she gave me this quote when I was 18, going to college. I was dating her son. So she was my boyfriend's mom at the time.
Yeah.
She gave me this card. It was a quote by Maya Angelou, and it said, change is difficult, but not more difficult than remaining in a situation that is not nurturing to the whole woman. So it will be hard, but the hardest thing is staying there and not moving and not valuing yourself.
Can we talk about the fear of that, though?
Yes.
The fear, I mean, we talked about guilt a little bit and how that holds us back, but what about the fear of it? Sometimes life comes in and forces you in a different direction, and that's almost easier in a way. It's hard to understand and deal with, and it creates all sorts of anxiety and depression on people. But that when you say life is forcing you in a different direction, it was actually a good thing. People can look back and always say that. But what if you're not necessarily being forced? You just have to make that decision. There's a lot of fear for people behind making those decisions to change and do something different. How do we get past fear?
Well, I think, and I'm glad you brought that up, because I think for me, how I got past my fear is I had to look within and really see my strength. Because if I was able to stay and sustain myself in all that I had to go through before I got to the point to move on, I think, hey, it's inside of me. And then I had someone, it's inside of me. And then I had someone over here cheerleading me on. Come on, you can do it. You can do it. So first look within and really look at your situation and say, hey, I done stayed through all of this negativity, all of this putting other people before me, or maybe I did make a lot of mistakes, but I stayed through it and I kept this job. I kept doing this, but the strength was in me to stay. Now it's time. You get what I'm saying?
Yeah, I think that's why I wanted you to speak to that, because you look at the three of us here. We are three people who have that wherewithal inside. We have that little voice inside that says, you are not going to hold me down. I am not going to stay still. I'm not going to stay quiet. I'm going to do what's best and move forward. Why do some people not have that inside? There are some people who just are complacent and I think just stay where they are. They're afraid to move forward. They don't have that gumption inside to wrap their head around it and get it done.
I think that they do. I think that they have silenced themselves for so long, or they have been taught that, hey, maybe I don't have to say it's proper for me to just
take
this. I really do believe that. So I believe in my soul that God has made us all uniquely different. However, but he's made us all the same. And he's given us all these senses, the same senses, and some senses are stronger than others, and some things come full circle before with me than it may be for Day or you, but I think it's there. And I think it's there. I think it's there. We got a few questions. Go ahead. I'm sorry.
Sure. Well, just quickly, I think that it is there. you are right. Some people silence it. Some people were taught, by
Yes.
society or their parents to silence it, especially women.
Yeah.
And so I think that when you take it into the regret and the life cycle of, making changes, no matter whether you're young or old or whatnot, it is alleviating that voice inside that says you cannot. And listening to that voice inside that says, yes, you can, and overcoming that. And that is so difficult for people, but that we have really been taught to stand down and to be complacent and to make other people happy. And we have got to learn that isn't always right, and teach the next generation to listen to that voice inside and come through it and be brave and go.
We got a couple of questions that just came in. Look like everybody just woke up and got on all at the same time, but whatever. Thank you guys for waking up and getting on at the same time. We're excited about you. John was the first one that I can see that popped in here. I think John's question was
he just made a comment. He said sometimes we just get tired of everything in life.
Oh,
that's true. Don't ever let I don't want to leave that there with John, because I do understand that that is giving up. And you can have a moment that you just feel like, okay, I'm tired, but you can't stand that more than a moment.
Right.
Because if you stay there, and again, this is my unlicensed version. I think if anything that you stay in too long, that is dragging you down or making you feel unworthy or less than. If you stay too long, it's unhealthy. So
it is. Poor John. I've been there too. We've all been there.
Yeah.
I'm even there now in a way, And
God.
Sometimes
we've all been there. And I would encourage you, John, to, if you can't will yourself out of that feeling, take a moment to think about who can help you. And it could be this conversation here.
Yes.
It could be Googling a YouTube video. I feel down. I need inspiration.
Yes.
And just sit with it, because that is a way for someone else to help you to come out of that, which we all need. Find the thing that's going to help bring you out, and keep that, because it'll happen again. We all go.
It's going to happen again. It's going to.
Everything. How do you come out of it? Look that up and be encouraged to know that we all go through it, but you have what's in you to come out of that. I encourage you to do that today.
All righty. Well, we're going to take a few questions before we get past our time. And my mind is blowing away here looking at these numbers. I'm trying not to look at them. But anyway, let's go ahead and give me a couple of them.
So Jeanette Valster said, what if you can't overcome your fear? And I kind of wanted to touch on this too when we were talking about fear. I think a lot of it, and I'm speaking from experience, is fear of like the unknown or being uncomfortable. I'm the type of person, I like to be good at things. So if I've done something for a long time and I'm really good at it, I'm very hesitant to step outside and try something new because I'm not good at it anymore. So I think to overcome that fear, you have to be okay with being like a novice or being ignorant to something, and being okay with like learning from other people and not being the best at what you're doing.
But I think that's where the growth come in at. And I think that's where it's just trying something new. Yeah. I think you really get to really figure out who you are when you get out of the situation of trying to control everything and learn something outside of you. And so you really find out. And actually, if you don't mind, I'm going to make it real quick. I think about you when I was asking her to do something for my radio show. And she just tried everything of why we couldn't get it done. And, I can't do it. And I kept pushing it. It was something as simple as 3 cameras. And I knew that if once I just stood, this is what I want done, I know her well enough. She's going to figure it out. Yeah. And what did she do? She took it to a whole nother level. And I think that getting outside of our fear and just doing what we have to do, I think that's what make you who you are.
Look at where that fear comes from. And so if you're thinking that you have this fear and you're feeling like you can't overcome it, that it's time to sit and look in the why you're afraid and pick that apart. And so you can overcome it. And it's, nothing is impossible. You just have to keep believing in that. But it's so easy to say. So just pick apart that fear and that why. Yeah. And the answer will be there of
face it head on.
day at a time, but take it a day at a time, a step at a time, and just look at your why.
All righty. Our next one is Christina. What is she saying?
Yes, Christina said, what about childhood trauma? How can that contribute to the fear of trying something new or feeling like it's too late?
Wow. Wow. That's a very good one. Doc?
Yeah, I deal with people and trauma. Trauma is something that is unique to every single person. We've all had it. And there are certain traumas though that go very, very deep. And I find that is almost always at the basis of where people have trouble making moves in their life, whether it's falling in love or a career or having children or, whatever. And trauma is so significant. Whenever somebody goes through a childhood trauma, their mental and emotional development stops at the age that they experience the trauma.
Wow.
They really cannot, even though they grow up and develop and keep going in life, that mental emotional child stops right there in their development.
Wow.
And we all need to go back to that age and figure out what happened at that point and where we stopped, how we can begin to develop further. And I think that there's a lot of great counselors. If you are, I think with trauma, you must seek counseling. You must develop through that. There are counselors who are very specific for trauma. And there's even a type of counseling called EMDR. And people look it up, and it is very important for people to do that, with their counseling in order to overcome that trauma. That is very important. And anybody who's experienced, which we've all experienced it, but at different degrees, and those who've experienced very severe trauma definitely need to focus and face that.
I'm sorry. I don't want to brush past that because that was so important what you just said there. The development literally stops where the trauma took place. My God, the only thing that can help you is through some counseling, because you may not even recognize that because you've shut down that pain. You don't want to feel. You don't want to even think of, wow.
And that I think that's what happens. You get in an environment where a professional is speaking to you and things start coming up, and she's connecting the dots for you in a way that you couldn't. Maybe you suppressed it. That is so.
That's profound right there. Wow. That yes.
Trauma. And if you're in a work environment or a relationship or whatever, and somebody kind of does something that triggers an old trauma response in you, you automatically go to a fight or flight or a defense mode.
Wow.
And you can no longer really function in, kind of an environment where you just kind of think about it, absorb and readjust. You respond and you react. And those reactions, like I say, brings up all that, adrenaline. And it's very, very hard for people to overcome in situations where they get triggered. And that often leads to problems in the workplace and in relationships where, those responses are so important to work through.
That
and it's never too late to get, like
it's never
too late. That's never too. That I think right there, what you just shared is so profound. And I think that it's very important, especially because those are things that are affecting us in the workplace. Absolutely. And we don't even know it. We don't know how we're interacting with our peers and with our supervisors and everything, because hey, wow, that's profound. Give us a few questions.
I was going to say, Mike Wills made a great comment to what y'all were just talking about. He said, trauma is like a black spot on the mind.
Oh my God.
And I think that's kind
of, that is, yes.
With it.
Everything in it just stays there. Wow. Thank you so much. Wow. Oh, next question.
Yes. Sorry, I'm trying to pick one. Terry Alexander said, have you heard about phobia? And then they also kind of added to that, what do you think about that? Do you think that phobia can be treated through medical consulting?
So what?
I'm going to let the doctor handle that one.
So phobia as in like a fear of something, like fear of flying or fear of something. That comes from usually, so there are some phobias like spiders or snakes or something that don't really have any relationship to underlying trauma or anything. But there are some anxieties that people have, phobias that people have, that can be tied to trauma. When I mentioned EMDR, this type of therapy that goes along with trauma counseling, it can help people overcome some of those phobias. And very simple ones too. So if it's if you have a phobia of being in a crowd, so you go into a large meeting or or to speak, or, some of those things, if that's what you mean, there are excellent ways of overcoming those things. And they can be related back to, anxieties and traumas and things like that in the past too. So if that's what you mean, that's kind of how I approach things with people.
Great. Day, you have anything on that to add to that, or you think?
I think Dr. Pinkston, the doctor summed
it up. I mean, how do you come behind that? You can't. You cannot. First, before we get to the next question, I want to thank the people. I don't know how you guys are doing or where you're doing it. I just thank you all so much for just jumping on here and just being a part of this conversation. I try not to focus on the numbers, because I think if we have one person on here, that one person is just as important. Yeah. But when we do have you guys taking the time out of your day, your busy day when you should be working, and I hope that you are on the clock working and listening, it's important to us, because we're all a part of this journey trying to help someone. We're all connected in some kind of way. So your questions, we take it very seriously, and we hope that we're answering the questions that you put out there. And if we're not, ask it again, ask it a different way. We're going to keep trying.
They're being very vulnerable. And that's
yes, yes, you are.
Okay. There's actually two questions that I kind of want to blend together, because I think they go together well. So Herman Lane said, to have a peaceful mind, does yoga help? But then Mariah also asked, how do you handle work anxiety? So I kind of want to see how we can, I guess, coping skills you guys would recommend when you're having some anxiety, or maybe your mind is just flooded and you're not able to get work done, or maybe the work itself is making you anxious.
That's a good question. And I will start with myself. How do I handle anxiety at work? Okay. When I'm in that, what's the question? Was it anxiety? What was the question?
How to handle work anxiety. And then Herman was asking how to have a peaceful mind.
Yeah, if yoga works.
When I'm at work and I'm feeling a bit overwhelmed, and because when my mind is going like that, I'm sorry, I'm not able to really focus or get anything done. So what I typically do is I just stop. And then I go harass my teammates. No, I just stop. And I have to put it down, and I walk away from it. Because I know I'm going to make mistakes, or sometime I may say, give me a cup of coffee, or get me something to drink, water or something. You just I take the time to breathe, and just kind of recenter and settle myself. Yoga, no, I've never tried it, but I hear it's a good tool.
Can I jump in? Sorry, and Day, I'm running all over you today. That there is, let's go back to some medical science within some great studies. We have all been kind of taught that things like meditation or yoga or things like that are a little bit hokey. And some people even take a religious stance. So it's, the religion don't allow them to meditate or things like that. I've seen that so many times, but there's some fantastic science about how our brains and the neurons in our brain work, and how they share the brain chemicals and all to help us cope in situations. When you are experiencing anxiety, you are in a fight or flight mode. Again, there's usually some triggers underneath that are pulling that spot. And you're not in a centered wellness, mode where you're free thinking and relaxed. And we actually can train our brains not to go down that, that pathway of fight or flight, because when you're there, you are not functioning at your best. You're also not it's not healthy either. That adrenaline and things affects your sleep and your thyroid and, your ability to stay healthy, and your heart disease and all those things. And what they have learned are things like yoga, Tai Chi, or, just very simple meditations. And you don't have to sit on a pillow with sage sage burning and, incense burning, things like that. It's something you can actually do at your chair for a few seconds in the middle of the day, visualizations or whatnot. But what it does is it actually rewires the neurons in your brain. It rewires how your brain chemistry acts, and you can self-soothe and change the direction of an entire day or a moment. With anxiety, you have to face it on that level. So those types of things are wonderful for retraining your body. It makes you healthier in the future, makes you healthier in your relationships, healthier at work, and getting rid of anxiety is extremely important, and doing those things are.
I would agree with that. I like that. I like the fact, and I'm not going to say whether it's a religious thing or not. For me, anything that can allow me to relax when my anxiety is here or someone else, I recommend. What I find working for me in this day and age is stepping away from it. Literally stepping away. I'm not sending an email. I'm not responding to a text message. I'm not responding to a call, because at that moment, your stress level is so high. It's what may come out may not be what I want to come out. And it may not be professional, or it may be hurtful. So the best thing I would recommend anybody doing, especially in the workplace, when that anxiety is there, one, yoga is great. Dr. Pinkston just spoke on that. But I think the number one thing is step away.
Right.
Just step away from it. Put the pen down. Get your hand off the mouse, definitely off the keyboard. Put your phone down and stop. Stop. Jay, you want to go ahead and jump in on that?
Similar to what you said, for me, it's letting go. Letting go. Whether that means I delete the Instagram app, TikTok app off my phone, delete whatever I need to do. Letting go helps me to release some of the tension that's built up, because if I have it here, I feel like I need to do something about it. And also, your mind is so powerful. You can, if anxiety lives there, if fear lives there, you can, like Dr. Pinkston say, train your mind to do different things.
Yes.
You can meditate. I actually listened to, I'm going to butcher his name, Ludovico.
How do you spell it?
How do you spell it?
Einaudi. I listen to his instrumental music, and it calms me so much. I will put it on and sit there, and it's just, and I close my eyes and I just sit there for a few minutes and just breathe.
Oh my God.
And that music, his maybe it's EMDR, I don't know what it is, Dr. Pinkston, but
can you put it in the comments right now? Could you put that in the comments so that we can actually recommend that out to anyone that is sitting at work and they may be feeling something right now? Yeah, put that out there. We're going to go a couple of questions real quick before we
see all the comments. We love you. We appreciate you. Thank you guys.
Thank you guys so much. We love you guys. You guys really encourage us and make it worth the while getting on here in the middle of our day just to come and love on you guys and get love back. Thank you all so much. Okay, give it to us, Abigail.
Okay, so we have I'm trying to pick a good one. Okay, I have this one from Catherine D. Moore on Facebook. She says, do you guys have any trauma, and how do you fight with that?
Oh, Lord.
So we talked about anxiety.
Well, y'all know I'm transparent and I don't hide anything, because that's why I have been delivered, and that's why I'm going through my healing journey, and that's why I'm so great. Of course, I shared with you guys that I was raped, and that was that trauma. It took me years, and that's not something that you ever get over. You just learn how to function and deal with it. From that, I really have to honestly say that I thank God for him first, but I thank God for my husband and my family and my village, because even while I couldn't deal with it and cope with it, I had my family and my village there still encouraging me and cheerleading me on. And I had a phobia, and that was a phobia of going into parking garages. And even still today, that is still something there that I struggle with. So for me, how I've learned to deal with it, if I have to go into a parking garage, I'll park on the first floor. I've learned to deal with and not allow it to control me.
Right.
Yeah.
And then talking about it, having a platform where I can be transparent and talk to someone that may have been through something just as bad or maybe worse, to let them know if I am made it, you can make it too. And don't live in shame. You know, I refuse to allow the person or persons that victimize me to make me a victim and to have me live in shame. So
yeah,
that's how I deal with my trauma.
thank you for being so transparent, Ms. Val.
Yeah.
For me, I had a lot of trauma around neglect of having my father not be present and being there but not being there. So the trauma for me was around just neglect and my accepting that I was enough. Even though he wasn't there, I was still enough. And so that the way that showed up was in my relationships, not being able to trust even my husband. I'm gonna do it myself because I can't trust you. I can't give
so
you
that you're gonna stick with
that
it.
you're gonna stick with me. And so
Yeah.
I'm back with Dr. Pinkston say about just therapy and counseling and
Yes.
releasing
Working through it.
and not knowing. I didn't know that was even a thing that connected to my relationships. I didn't know that. Had someone now say, well, this was here and that was there, and just being okay, like Dr. Val said, that doesn't define me. That doesn't define that he wasn't there, that makes me any less of a wonderful person and a deserving of a partner and all that. And so that's how I am working through it and, showing up differently in the world.
Yeah.
So.
And
Yes.
the traumas that you guys have experienced, I've been through both of those situations. I'm so sorry you guys have either one had to deal with it or anybody's had to deal with any trauma. We all have to some extent. And childhood trauma is one of the absolute worst possible things, especially when it comes to sexual abuse or parent neglect or things like that. Rape is horrible. It is it does come out in our relationships, and not only in our relationships with our parents, with our spouses or our dating life, it comes out in our work environment too.
Yes.
And in all of our with our children, it does. Trauma is probably the number one thing underneath what most people are dealing with. When you are dealing with somebody standing beside you at work or in line somewhere, you do not know what people are going through inside.
Yes.
Trauma based. We've all had it, and you just have to remember to be kind to people and realize they're going through something too.
And that's why it's so important. One of the things that my husband is real big on expressing, and I love that about him, is that you don't know what the other person is going through. Just because you see this on the outside, you don't know the hurt. So if we're just kind and we're loving to other people and show grace, the same grace you want coming your way, show it to that person, that stranger. Say hello, give them a smile. That coworker that's sitting in that corner, that's not really talking, that's probably snapping all of the time, and probably have pushed people away. They're hurt. It has nothing to do with you. When we take ourselves out of the equation, making it all about us, then we can do more justice in helping others. So,
and give the energy you want.
Yes.
If they're having a bad day and you want it to be a positive, give that energy. Change the energy in their room.
Be kind, gentle, be kind. That's so true.
Okay, well, what is Abraham over here saying? He said, "What did Abraham say?"
Abraham said, and we have a few
Abraham,
minutes left.
How you doing? We have a few minutes. Go ahead.
We have a few minutes. So I'll try to get through these as quickly as I can. He said, our grandparents literally can handle 7 to 8 children alone, and here we are. We don't even have time for 2 kids, and just stress out from the responsibility.
So true.
Abraham, you're so true. I had 5, and I tell you what, I was stressed out for them. Sometimes I'm still, but you still get stressed even when they get older. So you just have to, again, do what you can do. You are the best parent that there's no book in parenting. Everybody's written one, but there's no real book in parenting. Just show your heart, show love and grace.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And then Lucas also said, anxiety, stress, and fear together can really affect your life very deeply, and we need to overcome from that.
Yes.
Yeah.
And then David said, childhood trauma can come from parents also. That's why every parent needs to know how to behave in front of your child. Kind of like what you said, Miss Carter. There's no book on parenting, and we're all just doing our best.
Absolutely. You're all right. All of you are correct.
Yeah.
I want to say this has been an amazing show, and we can keep going on. I thank everybody, and I'm not going to thank until I let these ladies say a little about what they thought about the show, leave the people with their feelings on the show and how they can find you. Okay. Go ahead. Any one of you all can jump in. I'm not picking this time. Hey, y'all both are co-hosts. Wherever want to go.
Well, thank you guys. I appreciate it. This has been a great episode. And I think we've touched on some pretty difficult points, trauma. And I'm glad we did that for a few minutes, because I think that is underlying most of everybody's difficulties with workplace and relationships and things. So I'm glad we touched on that. And thank you guys all for your support and your great comments. It is fun to sit up here and talk about these things and bring it to light. And so please look for me, drpbetterlife.com. I do have my medical podcast. I take a little bit of different road with some information. You can find some stuff on social media, blog, and things like that. But again, Val, Dave, thank you both. And this has been a great episode.
Hey, and before I let Dr. Pinkston just come down, she, of course, Day is always on my other platform. I get her on VK, LNV. What is it? LNV.
Love and Victory.
On the Love and Victory on the radio. And then, of course, Dr. Pinkston. Look out. She'll be coming on the radio here soon, too. So thank you, Dr. Pinkston, for actually just always being committed to people. And the whole person, the whole body, and just being an amazing woman. Thank you so much.
Yes.
Day.
Thank you, Dr. Pinkston. You added so much value to this show. I'm so glad you were on to lend your medical advice. And today was just a very vulnerable show. And I appreciate everyone for sharing things you don't have to share, but it honestly made all of us better. And I think that us sharing made everyone listening better. And I want to just encourage everyone just to take it back to the show. It's never too late to, find someone to talk to, or to pivot or change something in your life. You owe it to yourself and those around you to at least explore that. And so you can even do it in fear. If you're afraid, you can do it anyways. Do it afraid. And for me, you can definitely find me online as well at simplicitybyday.com. There you can check out my social media, where I am, how you can work with me, and see more about my podcast, the Modern Mompreneur Podcast, which Miss Val was a guest on recently. So her episode will be airing soon. So thank y'all again.
I do want to thank you, ladies, so much. I still say you guys are the best co-hosts that God could have blessed me with for career conversation. You guys have been on it here with me since the beginning, and I wouldn't change it for the world. Thank you so much. You care about the people that are following us, that are supporting us. Their hearts, their lives are important. Everyone that is listening, we thank you so much. I pray that today is better than yesterday, and tomorrow is going to be even better. It's never too late to just change. It's never too late to choose you. It's never too late. And again, until next time, we love you. Bye.